Hey everyone, a bit of a different video today, but I just wanted to address the comments on my DC documentary, The Downfall of the DCEU. Now firstly, thank you so much for the love and support on that video. It's currently on about 451,000 views, and it's just blowing my mind how many people are talking about it. I just wanted to say I'm so grateful to everyone who wanted to follow the 10-year journey of the DCEU with me. But in this video, I wanted to go over some comments that I've been seeing popping up, not only in the comment section of the video, but on Twitter and even Reddit. Now, I know some of you will say ignore it or something like that, which I really appreciate, but I think it's healthy to have a little discussion about this topic. I'm not angry or upset, but I think it's a good moment of reflection. Now, this comment right here is a perfect example of why this video is being made. Such a biased documentary. The Snyderverse was doomed from the beginning because Snyder was, is, and always will be an incompetent director. Now, I have no issue with that second line. He or she doesn't like Snyder's work, and that's fine. I completely get it. His movies aren't for everyone. My issue is with their first line. Such a biased documentary. Now, clearly by the full comment, they wanted me to bash Snyder like they did and to say his movies are bad and that's why the DCEU failed, and because I didn't, then that means I am being biased myself. But I think that's quite a hypocritical comment. What they want is for me to state their opinion on these movies as a fact. Now, whether or not you agree with his views on Snyder's films doesn't really matter at all, because this was a factual video. I excluded my opinion on every movie to ensure it wasn't biased. I don't blame Snyder for the failure of the DCEU. In fact, I don't blame any director. I don't think any of them are to blame for the way the DCEU went. But that's beside the point. The documentary was a fact-based video. It wasn't there for me to shove my opinion all over it, and especially not for me to state that opinion as a fact. I shared the box office, the audience score, and the critic score, so for someone to state my video was biased because I stated the facts only, I didn't share their own bias in the video, is a prime example of a lack of self-awareness and hypocrisy. It would actually be biased of me to say Snyder was to blame and would be biased of me to say Snyder wasn't to blame, because both are opinions on movies. They are not undeniable facts. The only time I ever presented my opinion was right at the end of the video during my conclusion, where I clearly stated that this was just my opinion about what happened, reinforcing that my opinion wasn't a piece of evidence for the downfall of the DCEU. Now, please don't send hate towards that person or any comments that resemble this one. That's not the point of this video, and I would never want to encourage people to spread hate to anyone. The point of this video is to just simply explain the mindset I had when creating this documentary and defending it from some of the comments that I think are quite unfair. At one point in the documentary, I didn't even include Rotten Tomatoes at all, because I think the website is a waste of time and not very accurate to how people view these movies. But then I realized that firstly, that would be shoving my own opinion into the documentary, which goes against the very creation of the video. But secondly, it wouldn't be accurate to how Warner Brothers reacted to these films. They looked at those scores and used that to decide where to go from there. And if I excluded that and only included the box office results, then the video paints a very different picture. Because I think Batman v Superman is a really good movie. However, the Rotten Tomatoes score doesn't really back me up, but the box office does. And for me to keep the box office numbers in the video, but ignore the Rotten Tomatoes score, would be an extremely biased and deceiving thing to do, which is not what the channel is about, and not what I am about. So it's all in there, stats that support the movies I love, and stats that go against the movies I love, and the same goes for the movies I also don't like. But at the end of the day, I'm not there to push my own agenda. If people agree with my little summary at the end of the video, then cool. If you disagree, then that's fine too. I mean this in the most respectful way possible, but I don't care what your outcome is on the situation. Obviously, I am interested in hearing what your views are on it, but whether you agree or not really doesn't bother me. But what does bother me is when I spend a lot of time making sure I only provided the facts so that this video was accessible to everyone. And then some try and say that because I didn't pick their side, then it's biased. The video was from a neutral standpoint. Not just the people who like the same DCEU movies as me, and has the same views on the DCEU as me. All I did was provide the facts and let the viewers decide who they think was to blame for the downfall of the DCEU based on factual information out there and their own views on the movies released. I mean, do you realize how biased I could have made this video? I could have taken out the Rotten Tomatoes score entirely and waved my arms around going, look, Snyder's movies made so much more money than all the other DCEU movies, so he's not to blame at all. All the blame should go on the directors after him for not being able to make as much money as him, and that is why the DCEU failed. Snyder's films were pure perfection and he should have been in control of everything, and all the other directors are factually worse. But I didn't do that, and that's because I don't actually believe what I just said there, but it's also an example of what an actual biased documentary would be. I could have very easily done that in a more sophisticated manner, and there would be quite a lot of people who would just accept that as a fact. But that isn't right in any form. I believe in all walks of life that you should always have to present the full picture, both sides of the argument before coming to a conclusion. Don't try and guide people down to one conclusion just because it's the one you agree with. Even if it's something that I 100% already have a definitive opinion on, I would still want to, at the very least, try and hear the other side of the argument. If not to change my mind, then maybe just to hear the other side of the conversation. And that's what I wanted to do with this documentary, but from a factual side of the topic, which I know is a difficult thing to do when discussing movies, but I tried my best to do so. Movies are subjective. No movie is factually good and no movie is factually bad. If you think otherwise, then I think that's quite egotistical to say. Films are a form of art. Some people love One Piece and others absolutely hate it, but neither side holds the definitive answer. So for me to create this factual documentary, I couldn't include my own opinion on the movies or directors. Obviously, it's different when presenting the audience and critic scores because those are opinions too, but they are there to get a rough understanding of what people thought of the movies. And obviously, like I mentioned, Warner Brothers really focused on those numbers, so I couldn't simply just not include them. So my mindset through making this video was that people could come to their own conclusions by hearing what actually happened behind the scenes and use the statistics presented throughout the video, and then combine that all with their own opinions on the movies. So that was the goal, and for the most part, I think it worked. A lot of people shared their views and it created a lot of really interesting conversations. It's just a shame that some are so quick to accuse me of being biased or having an agenda just because they don't agree with factual information and they want me to push their own opinion as a fact. I'm a person who tries not to ever have an agenda. I will admit that sometimes the fan side of me can skew my judgment, but for the most part, I think I'm quite level-headed, and that is what this documentary was all about. So I hope I have explained myself well today. But that's going to be the end of today's video. Just something I thought I should talk about, as the video is getting quite a bit of traction now, and some people are twisting the motives of the documentary. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!